Welcome to World Travel Made Easy with Itinerary, Boss, the podcast for busy professionals who want to plan unforgettable trips without the stress. If you're craving adventure, relaxation, or cultural immersion, but feel overwhelmed where to start, this is the show for you. Each week, we dive into travel tips, expert strategies, and actionable advice to help you save time, money, and hassle while helping you design your dream trip. From group getaways to romantic escapes to adventure packed journeys and budget friendly tips, we cover it all. I'm Ross, your host and travel enthusiast, with over a decade of experience balancing a demanding career while also planning trips to over 25 cities in Europe, all over the US, Central America, the Caribbean, and beyond. I've mastered the art of stress free planning, and I'm here to help you do the same. If you love what you hear, don't forget to follow the show, leave us a review, as well as share it with a fellow traveler. I want to make your next adventure the easiest and most memorable yet. Now, on with the show.
What's up, everyone? I'm excited to announce that I'll be launching a new series and bonus episodes that I'll be going through solo, where I'll be really walking you through all the itineraries that I've created, sharing best practices, really just a look behind the curtain so I can provide as much value to you as possible, share where we've stayed, share, all the things we've liked, things we might not have liked, lessons learned, some funny stories. So buckle up. These are going to be really good. I love interviewing everyone, and I feel like everyone brings a different perspective. And this is really where you'll get to learn more about my story and how I've really helped a lot of others travel, but also where I've learned and grown. So really excited to launch these, and really hope these bring you value. I'm the first one I'm going to do is one of the more recent Europe trips that we went on, and really going to walk you through the ultimate 16-day Portugal itinerary, where we explored the Azores Islands and then went to uh, Portugal mainland. We went to Porto, the Algarve, and Lisbon. First, I've talked about the importance of proactive planning. That's, I one of the things that I really like is following the 12-week year, getting more done in 12 weeks than most people do in a year. And really that comes to proactive planning, mapping out all trips prior the year, like at the beginning of the year or even prior, just knowing, hey, this is where we're going to go. Here's our budget, planning well in advance. So to set myself up for success. But really why I chose first the Azores Islands. Back in 2020, right before COVID, we had a group trip where we were planning to go to Portugal, Greece, and Ibiza. We were only doing Lisbon, we were doing Greece, and then we were doing Ibiza. And when I was doing some research just on, hey, top 20 places in Europe to visit, I saw the Azores Islands, and they looked absolutely stunning. And I had never heard of them before that, and I started to do some more research with the group we had. What we were looking to do, didn't want to go there for a few days and then leave, so decided that when I do go to Portugal and do a full trip, that's something that we're going to plan to go to. So they're an island that is about 2 hours off the mainland of Portugal. So it was, why we chose it was pretty easy to get to, but also had heard amazing things with, the Hawaii of Europe, if you want to call it. So why we chose Portugal overall was one of them was cost, and I'd heard amazing things, which I'll get into more when I start to talk about, Lisbon, Porto, and the Algarve. So first, the Azores is pretty easy to get to. If you're flying out of Boston, they actually have direct flights daily, and it's only about a 4.5 hour flight. So pretty easy for us. We flew into São Miguel, which is PDL, and from Charlotte, it was a flight up to Boston, and we actually had a layover in Boston. So if for 9 hours. So if you are able to do that and you haven't seen Boston, or you just love going to Boston like I do that. A travel hack is, if you're checking your bag, you don't have to worry about getting that when you get to Boston or other airports doing that layover. So we were able to get there, make sure, hey, we're good to go with the airline. And then we just went on our way in Boston's 10-15 minutes from the airport, or downtown is 10-15 minutes from the airport. So we just went and had ourselves a day, brewery hopped, got some lobster rolls, got some oysters, some seafood. And yeah, we were nice and tired for our flight. And yeah, it was a quick flight to the Azores. When we got there, it's pretty cool. You fly in and you land, and you're right there, just on the water, and really not a ton around you, which was pretty cool. From there, we rented a car, so you can rent cars. There's a few different places. I would suggest looking online. I'll share where we rented ours in the show notes. But what I did is I did a ton of research prior. I wanted to know where's the best to stay. I looked at people who have been, because it's not as well known as the mainland and other, big tourist destinations. So we stayed at the Verde Mar Hotel and Spa, which is a 5-star resort in Riviera Grande. So it's about 15 minutes from the airport. And why we stayed there is I'd heard good things about Ponte Delgado, which is like the main central area, but we're going to be there for 6 days, and we really wanted something that was going to be more room, as well as, kind of more off the beaten path, but also is very central. So in San Miguel, if you look at the island, you do have to rent a car, because all the big tourist destinations are between, I would say, 30 to 45 minutes driving, and you have to go around the island. So I'll get into right where we went, but it's really important to either stay in Ponte Delgado or Riviera Grande if you want to hit all of those destinations, since they are central. But Riviera Grande, we liked the place we stayed, Verde Spa, or Verde Mar Spa and Hotel, unreal. I think we paid $160 a night, and we had a king suite, overlooked the ocean, had an infinity pool, and had a day spa at the bottom, had a gym if you wanted to do that, had breakfast included, which the buffet was insane. They had, it was a spread and a half. It wasn't your classic Hampton Inn, Holiday Inn, Marriott, where you got to go down at hotel breakfast. It was legit, and they had champagne included, all that. So if you wanted to start yourself off with a nice morning, you could, but highly recommend it. It was central. You could walk to the beach. You could walk to a bunch of different destinations. It was right downtown. It was right near the downtown. And for all my espresso martini lovers, there was a place that we went to dinner one night. I mean, talk about cheap. Like, we got seafood, two meals and two espresso martinis, and it came out to be like 25-30 bucks. The espresso martinis were $4 each, which, that's kind of unheard of if you're from the States. So highly recommend staying there. We absolutely loved it. I would go back. I'll link it in the show notes. But just to walk through kind of what we did, and why the Azores is such an amazing place, is there is just so many different sights to see. So when they call it the Hawaii of Europe, it is gorgeous. And, I have a bunch of pictures that I've shared on my socials, as well as on my website from there. So in the podcast, the podcast art and my logo is actually from Sete Ciatis, which is one of the main sites. So take a look at that. But yeah, it's really easy to get around. Once you have a rental car, you have Google Maps. Google Maps will really guide you through everything that you need to do. So we started out, we went to Lago de Fago. And then from there, there's a place called Salte do Cabrito. And then, so those were two. It's a cool, it's like you can hike down. There's a lake. When you get there, you do have to get bus passes. They take you up through these winding mountains where it's just absolutely gorgeous. There's all this greenery. You can see the ocean. It is it's kind of like something I've never seen, honestly. And then it takes you up to the top. If there aren't clouds that are coming over, you get this beautiful view over the lake, in the mountains, and it just overlooks the whole island. And it's one of the coolest things I've ever seen. So highly recommend that. That's what we did after we arrived. And then from there, when we stayed at Riviera Grande, you could walk to the Santa Barbara beachfront. So there, that was pretty cool. It's where a lot of people are surfing. It has a really cool island view and a sunset view, so you can sit there, grab dinner. There was a really good place we ate at right there, and that was really good. From there, and one thing too, to when you're planning this out, look at the weather, because it can rain, it can be sunny, it can rain, but for some of the places like Lago de Fago, but really for Sete Cidades lakes, that's the one where you're going to want to make sure it's sunny and it's not really cloudy. So the centerpiece is where we went, since that was near our hotel. That was the first day for Lago de Fago. Then from there, the west side. So on the island, there's the west side, which is the Sete Ciudades Lake. So that's on the northwest part of the island. From where we were, it was about a 45-minute drive. But the cool thing is it's when you put it in Google Maps, and I'll walk you through where to go, but it's like a path that takes you from each of these locations and viewpoints, and you kind of get to go from the top all the way to the bottom of the lake and then back around, and it's really cool. So you start out at Boca de Inferno, then you go to Miradoro de Vista do Rey, then Lago de Canero, then Miradoro de Vista da Frias, Miradoro de Lago de Santiago, and then Sete Cidades Village, and then end at Ponte de Ferrario. And what I'll do is I'll link something that gives you kind of a walkthrough of this within the show notes. So that day was amazing. There's an abandoned school that we saw that was pretty cool. Gives you some of the best views you'll ever see. So highly recommend that day. If you're not going for 5-6 days, if you only got 2, like that is the one. That's the one thing that I would make sure that I do. And then from there, we did a Furnas day trip. So the Furnas is a hot springs. So it's pretty cool. You go, and when you go to, there's smoke coming out of the ground. Then there's different hot springs. You also can go to there. One of the hot springs actually is like brown. It doesn't look it does not look clean, but it's a pretty cool park that you can walk around. There's a lot of nature. It's just and then you can dive in the hot springs, which is cool. So we did Lago das Furnas, Calderas das Furnas, which is the hot springs, Terra Nostra Park, which is what I just mentioned, the park that we went to, and the Terra Nostra hot springs. Parking there was kind of tough. So make sure you get there early. I think that's the biggest thing, is don't go at 1 p.m. when everyone's going. If you're going to go, get up early and go and make the most of it, or go later in the day, because parking's sometimes tough and you obviously want to beat the lines. Then we did a spa day, being there, just being able to relax at the pool. The pool's great. They had music and a DJ on Saturday, Sunday. They had drinks, a bar, so that was great. And we did a spa day, so there was a spa down there, pretty affordable, and yeah, it was great. It was great just to be able to relax. And then we did. There's a couple other days that we did the Ponte de Ferrarias hot spring, the Ponte de Sosega, and Ponte de Madruga viewpoint, which was great. And that was one of the coolest views. It really looked like when you're talking about Europe of Hawaii, that's exactly what it looked like. Like that was one of the best things. From there, we went to the tea plantation, which is pretty cool. So if you're a big green tea person, go by there. That was amazing. And a couple places that we ate we ate at the Gardner Bar and Terrace, as well as the Chalet de Mercedes, which was dessert in Fornas. So that was good. Then we did a day in Ponte Delgado. I wish we just lesson learned. I wish we just did a day trip here, because the hotel that we stayed at was okay, but it was just small. So we when we got there, we walked around and we just did a bunch of the tourist stuff, which was cool. But I would recommend just looking up what is the best things to do and then just go walk around the city. That's honestly what we did. And that ended up being good. But I would, if I were to go back, Ponte Delgado would be a day trip. I would park downtown and I would just walk around. We personally weren't that amazed with it. The waterfront was actually pretty cool, but just from staying there, it was more expensive and the space wasn't as much. So lesson learned there. Also, Audrey got food poisoning, which was yeah, we didn't know if we were going to make it to Porto the next day, which we ended up making, which was great. But yeah, so and then from there, from a logistics standpoint, why did we choose Porto? We chose Porto because it was a 2-hour flight. From there, we could have gone to Lisbon, but then if you're looking at the map of Portugal, Porto's on the north side, Lisbon's dead center, and then the Algarve's the south coast. From a logistics standpoint, it made the most sense to go, and then getting home standpoint made the most sense logistically going to Porto first. And Porto was amazing. We flew into Porto. We stayed at a place which I'll link in the show notes called Manor House Porto, which was unbelievable. It overlooked the bridge and just had a beautiful view over the entire city and the waterfront. So that was great. So we got to Porto, a few brunch places. So what we did is we went to Zenith Brunch, which was great. We went to the Paliso de Bolsa. We went to the Church of the Franciscan, and we did the library. It's a tourist trap. I probably wouldn't go there unless you're a big, Harry Potter person. I mean, I read those when I was younger, so I definitely wanted to see it, but definitely a tourist trap. From there, we did a place called Dinner at Tasco, which actually we had to cancel our reservations last minute. And since Audrey was not feeling well and was in bed, I actually walked around and got about 22,000 steps in and went to Tasco. And this is why I recommend this restaurant is when I went in, it's one of the places you have to put, card down, make reservations well in advance. Went in, told the guys, they were so cool. They were like, "We're so sorry. We'll take care of you." Hooked me up with 2 back-to-back cocktails, hung out at the bar, they were like, "Since you can't eat here, we will taste some of our top appetizers." Gave me that. And at the end, I was like, "Hey, how much do I owe you?" And they're like, "This is on us. Like, thank you, and I told them, "Hey, we're going to come back." So really liked that. And we ended up going back our last night there and we walked in and they were very hospitable. They gave us free drinks. And at the end of the night, they gave us espresso martinis. And one of the guys actually came up and like sprinkled espresso beans all over the ground. So it was a very cool experience. I usually don't leave reviews a ton. Like I will, obviously all positive, but that was one where I took the time to write out like a well thought out message. And I highly recommend it to anyone's going because the service was great and the food was great. Then we did the Douro Valley wine tour. So that we booked that through Get Your Guide, and that was good. We got to go to a few wine tastings, one at Sandman and then another at one of the other wineries. And that was just cool to drive through the valley. I mean, there's so much history there, and you got to go around, see a bunch of different viewpoints, and just enjoyed that day. When we got back, this is a must see and must do. We went to Restaurant Chama, which was a 7-course meal. They cooked. We got seated at the bar, which at first we were like, oh, we wish we had a table. And then once we sat down, we were like, okay, we're glad we're sitting at the bar. We got to get in tight with the bartender. They were making us great drinks, giving us shots, but also like we got to see how the food was made right there, right in the back. And I mean, 7 course meal, unbelievable fish, oysters. What else? They had steak. It just honestly everything, like every course that you could think of. 7 courses, drinks. Probably had 3, 4 rounds of drinks, a few free. Gave us like 2 free shots. Ended up come back, and this is why we chose. One of the reasons we chose Porto. Bill was $120 for two of us for a 7 course meal and probably 6 or 7 drinks between the two of us that were paid for. So that is a must do. It's right in the center of Porto. So Restaurant Chama, Chama is how you spell it. And then third day, we just had a nice day and we went to brunch. We went to Swallow Decadence brunch, which was great. We went to the Casa de Ribera. We went over and did some of the wineries. We walked over the Lewis Bridge and went to some of the wineries over there. We did a Sandman wine tasting, which was great. And then we actually went next door to the Terrace Lounge 360, which had beautiful views of the city and was definitely a vibe. We were there Saturday, so that was a good time. And yeah, watching sunset at the Lewis Bridge was pretty cool. Everyone really got excited for it, sat in the lawn, and then they had like music, DJs, people were handing out drinks. So it was definitely a vibe. And then we figured we have pizza at least one time. So we ended up getting a place called Pizzeria Bella Mia, which I highly suggest. The pizza was phenomenal. But yeah, I mean, Porto was great, very walkable, a lot of stairs. But my suggestion was just, some of those places were great that we did, but I would just get out and walk around the city. That would be my suggestion. It's not super big from where you need to go. If you stay at Manor House Porto, like you're dead in the center and everything's within a 10-15 minute walk and just get out and have fun. We really like Porto. That's a place I would go back in a heartbeat. And yeah, it was a good time. From there, we flew down to the Algarve. So we flew down into Faro Airport. So that was great. And we decided to stay in Portimao, Praia de Roca. So when I did research, I looked up, what was the most lively beach, but also had good beaches, good, good, good food, and just kind of center. And Portimao was that. So we rented a car from Gurin Car Rental, which was good. So what we were able to do too, since the Algarve is the coast, and we wanted to do other places like Alberfia and Lagos, I mapped it out. So when we were going to Portimao, so we got to kind of get a best of both worlds and get everything. On the way to Portimao, we did the Benegal Cave and the Praia da Marina, which is right down on the water. That's if you've seen Instagram, you've looked at Portugal, you've seen the Algarve, that's really what you're going to see on a lot of influencer stories. It has a big hole in the cave. That was pretty cool. Make reservations. Well, no, they stopped doing kayaks. So when you get there, just if you can make reservation, and this is something that had happened right recently when we got there, make reservations with one of the boating places or just go down, pay, get a ticket, have breakfast or lunch. Parking was, we got there at like 10:30, 11, and parking started to get really crowded. So if you are going to do it, go early. We then went down to the beaches of Portimao and just walked around Praia de Roca and Praia dos Tres Hermos, which was pretty cool. And then we went to Canico, which was I highly suggest Canico. So that was a beach bar and restaurant. It was in like this rock formation that overlooked the water. You were right there on the water. Uh, they had like a show on the rocks. It's kind of like um what I'm losing my train of thought. A projector and they had actually like a show there on the rocks, which was pretty cool. So highly suggest that. Then for day two, we went to Lagos Beach. So we honestly just went down and walked around. We did the town. We went down to the beach. We did Ponte de Pirata, which is a must do. I wouldn't say hang out on the beach there. I would say just go see it. It's a cool walk down a big flight of stairs. So Lagos was great. We just walked around and saw the town and beaches, which if I went back, I would stay there. That was really cool. And then the last day we just hung out in Portimao and enjoyed ourselves. We went to No Solo Agua, which was awesome. It's a beach club, and it was a little bit more lax because it was during the week, but we rented a pool cabana and a bed, which was like $50, and then got one of the best meals on our trip. It was this octopus where it legit was a full octopus for like $15. So we really liked it. We did the beach. We went to Rey da Prias, which were sunset drinks before dinner, which when I did a bunch of research prior, that said it had the best views for the Algarve. And then we did Club Now, which had really good food as well as live music and some amazing views. So yeah, that we really liked the Algarve. I would go back there in a heartbeat. I've joked if they get direct flights there, I want to go there as much as possible. Um, so yeah, from there we took the train up to Lisbon, which that wasn't. So we actually did the Portimao train station to Lisbon. So we did the Orient stop, and that was 3 hours, which wasn't bad. And if you've been to Europe, if you haven't, too, trains are pretty comfortable, right? If you get first class or even business class, usually it's like $5-10 more than just the normal one. So we got that, and we were really comfortable. It was tough because they didn't have the numbers on it, so it was kind of a mad dash when you got on, but wasn't too bad. That's some of the adversity you got to deal with when you travel, which it makes it fun sometimes. So yeah, we arrived around lunch. We went to the Alfama district. So that was close to where our Airbnb was. We went over to Portas do Sol, which was awesome. It had a great view. It's another Instagram worthy place. If you can get a beer, they have a pop-up bar there that serves drinks, which I didn't even realize, and you can just get a drink, sit, overlook the city and the Afama district, which is cool. And then there was a place called Audrey's, which we obviously had to go to for dinner, that we went to right before we did one of the sunset boat parties. The one we went on was more of a. It was fun. There was a bachelor party actually there, so we partied with them a little bit, but it there I think I would go to I'd pick a different one than we went to. We went to one, and this is sometimes the beauty and the curse, right? Of Instagram, of what you need to do. We kind of fell into that trap and did that one, and we had a good time, but I think we were like, okay, this is maybe we wanted to do a different one. So yeah, that's what we did our first day in Lisbon. Then we did the tourist stuff. We went to the Bellum Tower. We went to the Pedro. I'm going to botch this. Do des Gabramitos, and then we went to the Misterio dos Geramios, and then we did lunch at the Mercado Ribera, which is in the timeout market. So that's something you must do. We that was pretty cool, honestly. There was a bunch of different food stalls, but it's and we got to eat that right next to Pink Street, which was cool. And then we did the Topo rooftop bar for drinks, which was definitely a must do. And then my favorite meal in Lisbon was I'll link it. It is the Cervejario Ramiro, which I looked up and it was best one of the best seafood places there. You had to walk about 15-20 minutes, but you got to see another side of Lisbon, which was cool. And we got a full crab, shrimp, two beers, and oysters and something else. We got like four things of seafood. the guy comes out with the bill and he looks and it said 80. And I'm like, oh, that's great. And he's like, no, no. And I was like, oh, that's mine, right? And he's like, no, no, 30. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness. So we ate some of the best seafood we've had, huge meal for 30 bucks. So that just goes back to, why do we pick Portugal right there? So from there, we actually that we had a spontaneous night that night. There was a um nightclub, or it was actually out in the mountains, that we found was doing like a DJ set, and we took a Uber 25 minutes into the mountain range and went to this random outdoor club and had a good time there, and then had our one late night in Lisbon. We used to always do late nights in Europe every night. Now kind of I'm washed up and can't do that, but we went and had a late night, bounced around to some of the nightclubs, which was fun. And then the next day just took it slow, went to some of the more touristy places. We did the Rosia Square, we went to the Mirador da Senhora de Monte, then we did the Zé de Moria, and then we did a sunset at Santa Catarina. And then for dinner, we finished off our trip at the Bar Terrace. That was awesome. That was a hotel bar, but it was one of the places when I did my research, had some of the best views. So it overlooked everything that you needed to see in the city. So we had a great time. A couple other places were Otrevo, which had a Portuguese sandwich, which was awesome. But just from a cost perspective, we ended up spending about 1,300 on flights round trip to the Azores, and then back from Lisbon. So we booked a one-way flight to the Azores, and then we booked another flight back from Lisbon, which was Lisbon's obviously easier to get from. Flights when we were over there were about 225 to 250 bucks. The rental car when we were in São Miguel was 650 bucks, and then the rental car in the Algarve was about 175. And then the train ticket from Portimao to Lisbon was about 30 bucks. So not terrible. I mean, you're looking at probably, yeah, I mean, around 2000 or less to get over there. Yeah, I mean, probably, yeah, about 2000 or less just to get over there. And then the hotels and stays were another 1,000. So you were looking at and this was for 16 days, right? So we were over there for a while, but you're looking at about 3,000 for when you're staying, and then some of the tours that we did came out to about 300. So then you're really just worried about food and drinks, and that was it. So overall, I mean, we were under about 5K a person for a 16-day trip to Portugal, which was pretty impressive from what I've booked. But and we stayed at some nice places. We did some really nice dinners. So you definitely can do it in a more budget friendly. But for 16 days to Europe, I mean, if you're telling me you're spending $5,000, I think everyone will be happy with that. But a couple lessons learned. I think for us, when I mapped it out, I thought Lisbon was going to be the best place to fly out of and come home from, which logistically and easy definitely is. But if you're going for that long, I personally would not, I would do Lisbon either, you know, first, or I would do Lisbon as the maybe first city while you're in Portugal mainland, because by the time we got there, we were tired just from traveling. We were tired from being gone, from right just walking around, and we had a great time. But I think to experience Lisbon to the fullest and what it offers, we would have probably been better doing that first. But other than that, we absolutely loved our trip. I would go back to Portugal in a heartbeat. I'm really hoping that an airline gets direct flights from Charlotte to Portugal to Lisbon or Porto, most likely Lisbon. But yeah, it's an amazing country. It's one of my favorites. It's from the US. It's easy to get to. It's one of the closest Europe cities that you're gonna get to. And the weather's great, people are nice, and it's affordable. So I highly recommend it. And hopefully people get value from this. And if you have any questions, if you have any feedback or just really want to learn more and you want to deep dive into the itinerary, I actually have them on my website that you can purchase. And you might think, oh, I have to pay to purchase it, but I can tell you it take about 35 to 40 hours to really map all of it out, plan it, get everything right, get to the best spots, do all the research. So it's saving you time and money, and you're paying $1 an hour for it if you really want to take a look. But yeah, hopefully this episode's helpful. I look forward to doing more of these. These episodes are going to start to be for subscribers only. And what does that mean? So I'll have a community where if you subscribe to my weekly updates via email, you're going to get a ton of action-packed travel tips, updates from podcasts, free resources. And then from there, you'll get all the exclusive bonus episodes where I do the itinerary walkthroughs of the places that I've planned and been. So be a lookout on that. If you love the episode, again, feel free to share it with friends, family, people that that might be able to travel. If you think it deserves a 5-star review, please give it a 5-star review, because that's how it helps us get higher on the ratings. Also, it helps us get to more people when they're searching us on Apple, Spotify, Amazon. And give us a follow too. That way you don't miss any of the episodes that come out in case something is top of mind or something you're wanting to learn about. But appreciate everyone hopping on. Follow me on all my socials at Itinerary Boss, and go check out the website if you want to learn more at itineraryboss.com. Hope everyone has a great week. Peace.